friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to show you how to make a butterfly. And by show you, I mean I'm gonna be figuring it out along with you. I have this drawing that I did on the live stream of a Luna moth, and we tried to break down the shapes on the live stream, and we kind of figured out roughly the shapes of the top wing segment and the bottom wing segment, and it made me inspired to try and finish this as a pattern so that you can make it too. So if you want to figure out how to make a Luna moth as a crochet project with me, keep watching. For this project, you're going to need a crochet hook. I'll be using a 3.5mm hook today. You'll also need some yarn. I'm doing this in cotton, but you can do it with whatever you have on hand. I've got some of the colors of the Luna moth. I'll insert a picture right here so you can see what they actually look like. But basically they're green with a little bit of pink and a little bit of a tan color. I don't have all the colors accurately, but we'll make do with what we've got. You'll also need some scissors, as well as a yarn needle to weave in your ends and to sew the project together in the end. So gather your supplies and let's jump in. We're going to start with the upper segment of the wing. Oh geez Louise. We're going to be starting with the upper wing segment. So Luna moths have 4 segments to the wings. We're going to be working on just the upper segment. So I kind of looked at the shape of the wing and then created a more squared off version. And what we'll do is we'll shape around the final wing segment to round it off. But here's what the basic structure looks like, at least to me. So we're going to start with a straight line. On one side, we're going to be decreasing right away, and we're going to decrease every other row to create this line. On the other side, we're going to increase every row to create that diagonal. Then we'll work up straight for a few rows, all the while decreasing on the other side. Then we'll increase again, still decreasing on the other side, and then we'll work up straight again, still decreasing on the other side, and then we'll work across straight. And that's going to create this sort of shape, which is going to be the base shape for the wing segment, and then we'll do some crochet around it after in order to round it out. So let's jump into it. Also, I don't know if I mentioned it, but this yarn is about a number 4 weight. So I'm going to start with a slip knot. Then with my hook, I'll insert it into the slip stitch here, and I will chain 17 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 14, 15, 16, and 17. So this is the widest part of the top wing segment. From here, in the second chain from the hook, 1 and 2, I'm going to create a single crochet. Insert the hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over again, pull through those 2 loops. Into the next stitch, insert the hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And I'm going to single crochet across the first row, just normal single crochets, until we get back to the beginning of the row. I'll zoom through the rest of this first row and I'll meet you at the end to show you what we're gonna do next. Here I am at the end of the first row. I'll just put my last single crochet in there and then chain 1 and turn to bring us to row number 2. You should have 16 stitches in the row. From here, we're going to be doing single crochets in the back loops only. Normally, we would put our single crochet stitches through the top of the stitch, right here, which would put both the front loop and the back loop on our hook. For this and all of the following rows, we're going to be only using the back loop right here. So you can see front loop, back loop. We're only going to be using the back loop. So in that first stitch, not the chain 1 we turned the row with, but the first stitch, this guy here, we're going to be putting 2 single crochets in. So insert the hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops. Then in the same space, insert again, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops. Now we've got 2 stitches coming out of one spot, and that's going to increase the row, creating that diagonal line. From here, we're going to single crochet across this row, but at the last 2 stitches, we're going to be doing single crochet 2 together. So I'm not going to zoom through the row, I'm just going to work across with my single crochets, and I will be able to show you how to do single crochet 2 together at the end of this row. We're adding a stitch at one side and taking away a stitch at the other side. So the row is still going to have 16 stitches, but it's now going to be working on a bit of a slant. By working in the back loop only, we're also creating a subtle rib on the work, which is going to sort of mimic the veins on the moth's wings. At least that's what the plan is. All right, here we are at the end of the row. I have 2 stitches left in my row now, 1 and 2, and we're going to be combining those 2 stitches into one. So here's how we do that. We insert the hook into the first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. There's 2 loops on my hook. Then I'm going to insert the hook into the next stitch. There we go. And then I'll yarn over and pull up a loop. Now there's 3 loops on the hook. I'll yarn over a 3rd time and pull through all 3. Now those 2 stitches have turned into 1 stitch. Then I'm not going to chain 1. I'm just going to turn the work around for row number 3. Now for row number 3, we want to continue the decrease in one direction. So we're going to be doing a single crochet 2 together for the first 2 stitches, but again, we're only working in the back loop of the work. So we're going to insert the hook into the back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert the hook into the next stitch in the back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. Then we'll single crochet in the back loops only across the row, and then in the last stitch of the row, we're going to be putting 2 single crochets in that back loop. So row 1 was a regular single crochet row. Row 2 had an increase at one side and a decrease at the other side. Row 3 has a decrease on one side and an increase on the other side. And here I am at the end of row number 3. Got just a couple more single crochets to put in here. 1, 2, and then there's 1 more at the end here. Sometimes it can be hard to see it, but if you stretch out your work, you'll see there's the 2 loops. So we're going to insert into the back loop of that last stitch, and we're going to put in 1 single crochet, and then in the exact same spot, I'm going to put in a 2nd single crochet. And then we'll chain 1 and turn. And now it's getting a little bit more obvious that one side is angling and the other side is also angling. We've got a little parallelogram now. Now let's jump into row number 4. Now row number 4 is going to be a repeat of row number 2. So we're going to start the row with 2 single crochets in the back loops only of the first stitch. 1 and 2. And then we're going to single crochet across into the back loop only. And the last stitch of the row is going to have single crochet 2 together, well, the last 2 stitches of the row. All right, here I am at the end of the row. I've got 2 stitches left, 1 and 2. I'm going to single crochet 2 together in the back loop only. Yarn over, pull up a loop, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. No chain 1, we'll just turn the work around, and there is our 4th row. And now you can see how those bumps look, the 2 little textured bits. On the other side, we have just 1. So now you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's jump into row number 5. For row number 5, we're gonna start the same that we do always on this decrease side. We're gonna do single crochet in the back loops only, 2 together. So insert into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Now, the difference in row number 5 from the other rows is we're not going to finish with an increase. We're just working straight across for the rest of row number 5. So at the end of the row, we'll just be putting 1 single crochet in the back loop only of the last stitch of the row. No increase for row number 5. So we actually are losing a stitch. Up until now, the rows have remained 16 stitches. For row number 5, there's going to be 15 stitches in the row. Here I am coming up to the end of row number 5, and here I am at the last stitch of the row. Instead of 2 stitches, which is what we've been doing, I'm just going to put 1 stitch in the end of the row, and then chain 1 and turn. Now row number 6, I'm gonna not be doing any increases here either. Row number 6, I'm just gonna put 1 single crochet in that first stitch and then single crochet across, but the last 2 stitches I'm still going to be doing single crochet 2 together. So I'm just gonna zoom across this back loops single crochet portion until I get to the end of the row to show you what it looks like and what we're gonna do next. Here I am at the end of row number 6. I've got 2 stitches left in the row. I'm gonna insert into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. I'm not gonna chain 1, I'm just gonna turn the work. For row number 7, I'm gonna start with a single crochet 2 together through the back loops only. So insert into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert into the second stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. For row number 7, I'm just going to be single crocheting across for the rest of the row. At the end of row number 7, no increase here, just single crochet across at the end of the row, chain 1 and turn. Always for this project, we're working in the back loops only. So if I don't mention back loops only for these parts, I still mean we're working in the back loops only. Here I am at the end of row number 7, just a couple stitches left in the row here, and I'm not doing an increase. Again, I'm just putting 1 single crochet in the last stitch of the row, and then I'm chain 1 and turning. And you can see now we've got that increase and then it stops here and we work straight up, while on this side the decrease continues. So we're always decreasing on one side. Every single row we're doing 2 together on one side. And the other side we did 4 rows where we had increases, and now we're going to do all the way up to row number 9. So we just finished row number 7. Row number 8 and row number 9 are going to be exactly the same as 6 and 7. So I'm going to zoom through rows number 8 and 9 because we're just single crocheting in the back loop only all the way across with a decrease at the end of the row, single crochet 2 together. And then for row number 9, the exact same thing, except it's a decrease at the first stitch. So I'll zoom through those rows and then I'll meet you back here at the end of row number 9 to show you what we're gonna do next. Here I am at the end of row number 9. I'll just put my last single crochet in the back loop only, and then chain 1 and turn. And you can see at the end of 9 rows, we've got that nice taper on one side, the taper on the other side, the straight line up. Now for row number 10, we're gonna go back to doing the increase on the one side. So for the first stitch of row number 10, we're gonna put 2 single crochets in the back loop only to start that increase again. The rest of the row is going to remain the same as all of the even rows have, with single crocheting across the row in the back loop only with a single crochet 2 together at the end of the row. Here I am at the end of row number 10. I'm gonna single crochet 2 together and then no chain 1, just turn the work. Row number 11 is going to be the same that we've been doing down at the bottom with single crochet 2 together in the first stitch and 2 single crochets in the last stitch to create that angle again. So single crochet 2 together for those first 2 stitches, then we'll single crochet across, but in the last stitch of row number 11, we're gonna put 2 single crochets in the back loop only. Here I am at the end of row number 11. So in this last stitch, I'm going to put 2 single crochets into the back loop, then I'll chain 1 and turn. Now you can start to see the shape coming out again. So we've got the angle, then we go up straight, and now we've got another angle started. And the other side is remaining stationary with the taper, just going a nice straight line on the other side, turning into a butterfly wing. Now rows 12 and 13 are going to be the same as this. So we are going to, for row number 12, put 2 single crochets in that first stitch, and we're gonna single crochet 2 together in the last stitch, otherwise single crochet across in the back loop only. And for row number 13, we're going to single crochet 2 together for the first stitch and put 2 single crochets in the last stitch, otherwise single crochet across in the back loops only. So I'm gonna zoom through the rest of rows number 12 and 13, and I'll meet you back here to show you what we'll do next for row number 14. Here I am at the end of row number 13. In the last stitch, I'm gonna put 2 single crochets in the back loop only. And the last row of our top wing segment is row number 14. I'm gonna chain 1 and turn the work here. And for row number 14, no increases and no decreases. I'm just going to single crochet across. in the back loop only still, but no increases, no decreases, so just one single crochet in each stitch all the way across. Easy peasy. And then we're actually going to be done the top wing segment, which is crazy. It's a pretty quick project. I know there's a lot of instructions for it, but the wing segment is not very many stitches, so if you follow along, it can be a pretty quick project. That looks pretty butterfly-ish. Isn't that nice? Okay, so it doesn't really look like a butterfly wing just yet, but that's okay, it's going to. You can see how the little rib stitches, by doing the back loop only, it creates a nice texture like a butterfly wing. And you need to make 2 of both of the segments. So I've already made my first one and my second one for the top wing segment. But look, that kind of is looking maybe like this a little bit more. That looks kind of butterfly-ish, right? Like imagine the little body here. And now we're going to get started on the bottom piece, which is the piece that has that long tendril on the Luna moth. And this piece is going to stick somewhere like this, but underneath. And we'll get somewhere. It's gonna look, it's gonna work. Hopefully it's gonna, is it gonna work? Come on, that looks kind of like a Luna moth. Okay, now let's make the bottom section. So for the bottom wing segment, we're gonna be starting the same way we did for the first one with a slip knot. This time though, we're going to chain 19. 1, 2, 3, 17, 18, 19. Now from here in the second chain from the hook, 1, 2, we're gonna do a single crochet. And from here, for row number 1, we're just gonna single crochet across the initial chain. At the end of the row, you should have 18 stitches in your row. Here I am at the end of row number 1. I'll put my last single crochet in there, and then I'll chain 1 and turn. For this first row of doing our back loops only, we're gonna start with single crocheting 2 together in the first 2 stitches. So I'm going to insert the hook into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, into the second stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. Then I'm going to single crochet across, but in the last 2 stitches of the row, I'm going to do another single crochet 2 together. So for row number 2, it's single crochet 2 together for the first 2 and last 2 stitches of the row. Otherwise, single crochet across in the back loops only. Here I am at the end of row number 2. So in these last 2 stitches here, I'm going to insert into the first one, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert into the last, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. Now this part's going to be a little bit different because we're going to chain 1 at the end of that row. So usually when we're doing a decrease, we're not chaining, we're just turning the work. But for this wing segment, we're going to do a chain 1 and turn. And the reason is this side is only going to get decreased every other row. So for the upper wing segment, we would have jumped right into another decrease here. But for row number 3, we're going to just single crochet 1 time in the first stitch, so no decrease, and single crochet across. At the end of the row, for row number 3, we're gonna leave the last stitch unworked. So we're not going to go all the way to the end of the row. We're just gonna work back loops only to the second last stitch of the row, leaving the last single crochet stitch unworked. Let me just work my way across so I can show you what that looks like. Here I am coming up to the end of row number 3. You can see I've got 2 stitches left in the row, 1 and 2. We're gonna leave that stitch unworked and we're gonna just finish our row here. So I'll put my last stitch in the second last of the row, then I'll chain 1 and turn. And that's gonna create a little bit of a zigzag, which is what we want for that bottom wing segment. We're gonna now do an increase to bring that back out so that it does a zig and a zag. So now moving into row number 4, we're gonna start row number 4 with 2 single crochets in the back loop only of the first stitch, 1 and 2. Now you can see it creates this sort of shape that we're looking for in the butterfly's wing. From here, we're going to single crochet across. In the last stitches of the row, we're gonna do single crochet 2 together. Here I am coming up to the end of row number 4. At this area, we're gonna do 2 together again. So insert into the first stitch, pull up a loop, insert into the last stitch of the row, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. Again, this is not going to be a regular decrease, so we're gonna chain 1 and turn. So now you can kind of see the shape we've got. We've got a more gradual taper on one side, and then it goes zig, zag. for the other side. Now for row number 5, we're gonna start with a single crochet in the first stitch, and we're gonna single crochet across, but we're gonna leave the last stitch unworked again. This is gonna create another zig. We're looking for 3 sort of points that jut out of the wing, and that's gonna create a shape that we have in the Luna Moth's lower wing segment. So I'm just gonna work across, single crocheting in the back loop only, until I get close to the edge of the work, and then I'll show you what that's looking like with the last stitch. If you hear that chatter, it's just the birds. I have 2 parrots and they are very talkative. All right, here we are at the end of the row. You can see I've got 1 stitch here and 1 here. So we're not gonna work in this stitch at all. We're just gonna do this stitch here as the end of the row. So leave the last unworked and then chain 1 and turn. There we go. Now we're on to our last sort of point. So there's 1 point, there's another point, and now we're gonna do our last point. For our last point, we're going to put 2 single crochets in the first stitch. This is row number 6 that we're on now. So we'll put 2 single crochets in the first stitch, and then we'll single crochet across. At the end of this row, we're going to single crochet 2 together, and we'll finish the row with a chain 1 and turn. So let me just zoom through this, and I'll show you what it's looking like. All right, here we go. At the end of row number 6, I've got 2 stitches left in my row. I'm gonna single crochet 2 together, and then I'll chain 1 and turn. And now you can see we've got those little jagged edges on one side and a nice straight taper on the other side. This is actually going to be this way on the actual final project. It's going to look sort of, this will be going straight down and that'll be the edge of the wing. Now, let's jump in to row number 7. For row number 7, we're going to start with a single crochet in the first stitch, and we're going to single crochet across, but in the last stitches of the row, we're gonna single crochet 2 together. So I'm just gonna single crochet across in the back loop only, and at the end of the row, I'll single crochet 2 together. I'll meet you at the end of row number 7. Here I am at the end of row number 7. I've got 2 stitches left in my row here, and I'm gonna single crochet 2 together for those last 2 stitches. And now at the end of row number 7, we're not going to chain 1 and turn, we're just going to turn the work. And that's because we're going to go back to decreasing every row now. So for row number 8, we're going to start with a decrease. We're going to do single crochet 2 together in the first and second stitch of the row. So I'll insert my hook into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Then I'll insert into the second stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Now, for this row, I'm going to single crochet across, and at the end of row number 8, we are going to single crochet 2 together, and after the single crochet 2 together on row number 8, we'll chain 1 and turn. So for all of the even rows, when we do our single crochet 2 together at the end of the row, we're doing a chain 1. That might make it easier for instruction. If you're on an even row and you're doing single crochet 2 together at the end, it's followed by a chain 1. That's not necessarily true if you're on an odd row. All right, here I am at the end of row number 8. I've got 2 stitches left in my row. I'll single crochet those 2 stitches 2 together, then chain 1 and turn. Now for row number 9, we're going to start with single crochet once in the first stitch and single crochet across. But at the end of row number 9, we're going to single crochet 2 together for the last stitches of the row, and we're not going to chain 1 at the end of row number 9. Here I am at the end of row number 9 now, so I'll single crochet 2 together for those last 2 stitches. No chain 1 here, I'm just going to turn the work, and that's because for row number 10, we're going to start with a single crochet 2 together for those first 2 stitches. Then I'm going to single crochet across in the back loops only. At the end of the row, single crochet 2 together and chain 1 and turn. Here I am at the end of row number 10. So in my last 2 stitches, I will single crochet 2 together, 1 and 2. And then I'll chain 1 and turn. Now you can see by doing a decrease on every row on the one side, we create a more sharp taper versus the other side, which since we're doing it every other row is a little bit more of a chill taper. Does that make sense? So we've got zigzags, sharp taper, chill taper. Now for row number 11, we're going to single crochet across, but in the last 2 stitches of the row, we're going to single crochet 2 together. Here I am at the end of row number 11. I'm going to single crochet 2 together at the end of the row. And for this one, we're not going to chain 1, we will just turn the work. And that's because for row number 12, we're gonna start by doing a single crochet 2 together, and then we're gonna single crochet across the row, and in the last stitch of row number 12, we're gonna single crochet 2 together again. And the rows are getting pretty short now. There's not a lot of stitches in each row. Here I am at the end of row number 12. I'm gonna single crochet 2 together, and then I will chain 1 and turn. Now for row number 13, I'll start with a single crochet in the first stitch, single crochet across, and then in the last 2 stitches, I'm gonna single crochet 2 together. There's 1, and there's 2. I'm not gonna chain 1 here, I'm just gonna turn, because in the first 2 stitches for row number 14, I'm gonna single crochet 2 together. And now if you'll believe this, there's only 2 stitches left in the row at this point, and we're gonna single crochet them together as well. So we're only gonna have 2 stitches in the row right now. And then we're gonna chain 1 and turn. We're gonna single crochet in the first stitch, and we're gonna single crochet in the second stitch. So there's only 2 stitches in our little row right now. And then we'll chain 1 and turn. Now is where we're gonna be doing the tail shape, the long hanging tail. So for this section, we're going to be doing something a little different to create a short row that stays short, but also does a little bit of shape stuff. All right, so for row number 17, we're gonna start with 2 single crochets in the first stitch. Remember, there's only 3 stitches or 2 stitches in the row at this point. So in the next stitch, we're going to do 1 single crochet because there's only 2 stitches, which leaves us with a row with 3 single crochets. Then we'll chain 1 and turn. Now for row number 18, we're going to do 2 single crochets in the first stitch. And now there's 2 stitches left in the row. We're gonna put 2 together for the last stitch. So single crochet 2 together for the last one. Then chain 1 and turn. And then in row number 19, we're gonna single crochet across. There will be 3 stitches in the row, 1, 2, and 3. And then chain 1 and turn. And then in the first stitch, we'll put 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. And then those remaining 2 single crochets, we're gonna single crochet 2 together. 1, 2, and then chain 1 and turn, and we'll single crochet across for those 3 stitches, 1, 2, and 3. And that was row number 21. Now for row number 22, chain 1 and turn, 2 single crochets in the first stitch, 1 and 2, and then single crochet 2 together for the remaining 2 stitches, 1, 2, 2 together, and then chain 1 and turn. See what we're doing here? We're creating an angle, and that angle is going to sort of twist on itself in the final product. Now for this next row, we're going to start with a single crochet 2 together for the first 2 stitches, because now we want to decrease the row, and then we'll single crochet 1 time in the next stitch, and then we'll chain 1 and turn. And then again, we're just going to single crochet across for this next row. That's 2 stitches in the row, and then chain 1 and turn. And now this is our last row of single crochet anyway. We're gonna single crochet 2 together for the last 2 stitches, leaving us with 1 stitch in the row. We'll chain 1 and turn, and then we'll put a row with just 1 stitch, a single crochet in the back loop only, and then we're gonna chain 3, 1, 2, and 3 to finish off that tail. Now we can cut the yarn, pull it through, weave in that end, and then let's take a look at that bottom section. So we need 2 of those bottom sections as well. You can see by doing the taper, it kind of forces that tail to move over. And what we can do is just twist it around itself to create that ribbon shape that is the bottom of the tail. And we can do for both pieces, twist one way and one the other way. And these are going to be the bottom wing segments. So they're going to hang almost straight down like this, these lines. And then the top wing segments are going to be nearly flat across that way. Ta-da, look, it's like a little butterfly. It's close. It's not all the way there yet. We still need a body and we still need to do the outlines, but can you see it? Do you see the Luna Moth shape we're getting? We're almost there. All right, now that we've got the 4 main pieces, I think we can do a little bit of pink now. We can do the attaching of the top wings together and maybe like a pink outline on them. So let's weave in the ends first and then jump into that. Okay, I'm actually so excited about this now. Look at how good that looks. It's not done, but still it's giving a little bit more butterfly shape. So I think we need to do a round in green before we do the round in pink so that it doesn't have an ugly look to it. So what I want to do is I want to use this round of green to attach the wings together. And I think I want to do like a straight line across here where I will connect the two wings, and then I'm going to go around the entire upper section before we connect in with the pink. So I think the best way for me to do that is going to be to start here, work my way down this section, connect here, and then work across and then around. So let me put the bottom segments out of the way, and then I will zoom in and show you how I'm gonna do it. So I'm still working with the green yarn here. All right, so looking at the top wing, if we're looking at it with the rows, I'm doing the top left-hand corner of the right side wing. I'm gonna insert my hook into the last stitch of the row, and I'm going to yarn over with my green yarn still and pull that loop through to attach it to the work. I'm gonna lie the tail along the work so that I don't have to weave the end in later. And now I'm gonna chain one, and then I am going to single crochet into that same space that I just chained one out of. And from here, I'm going to do a single crochet one time in each of the rows all the way down. So this counted for my first row. Now my second row starts here with a single crochet two together, so it's gonna be snug, but I'm gonna put a single crochet in that first stitch as well. And then moving down, single crochet in the next one, all the way to the bottom of the rows. And it's gonna be a little bit snug because there's lots of places where the rows have single crochet two together, but just fiddle around and find a spot for the hook to go, and it'll all work out fine. That's what I'm telling myself. And we need to put one in each row so that the row remains straight and doesn't pucker. If we were to skip a stitch, we might end up with a sort of a row that's too tight. And we want to make sure there's enough space so that the wing stays nice and flat. It's a little bit slow moving, but we'll get there. All right, here I am coming up to the end of that super snug row, and it's almost time to connect the wings together. And I'm gonna do that by doing a single crochet two together for the last stitch of this row and the first stitch of this row. And how I'm gonna do that, I'll show you. So I'm gonna put my last stitch in on this row, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then I'm gonna put it into the first stitch on the second piece of fabric, just like that. And then I'll yarn over and pull up a loop, and then I'll yarn over and pull through all three, and that connected the two pieces, just like that. And now I'm going to single crochet down the second piece, the same way I did for the first piece, until I reach that corner. And I'll meet you when I reach that second corner. This is gonna be slow moving because it's so snug where I'm putting my hook on this row, but you need to put one stitch at the beginning of each row. So there's going to be a stitch on this row. So I'm right here. Now I need to put a stitch here, then here, then here. And you could just follow your finger up the row to know where to put your stitch. And I'll meet you when I get to this corner. All right, here we go. Looking good. I made it to the corner. And now we want to round this corner because right now it's a sharp point. So we're going to round it by putting a couple of stitches into that corner spot. So in the last stitch here, I'll put my last single crochet. And then we're going to put 3 total in that same spot. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. And that's just gonna create a little bit of a rounded corner here, which is what we want so that it's not such a sharp edge for our butterfly wing. Now I'm going to do single crochets across this last row here, this row we did for the edge of the wing, but I'm not gonna do back loops only for this row. I'm just gonna single crochet across. When we get to the last stitch of the row, we're going to do 3 single crochets in the last stitch of the row as well in order to curve around that underside of the wing. We're doing the exact same thing after that we did for the top. We're going to put 1 single crochet in the first stitch of each row all the way along the underside of the wing. So here I am at the last stitch. In this stitch, I'm going to put 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And that'll sort of round out my corner underneath here. Now we're gonna be going down around here. So we're just gonna put 1 single crochet in each first stitch of each row all the way down. And then we'll work across. At the corner, we'll put 3 single crochets again. Then we'll single crochet across the bottom of the work, 3 single crochets in the corner again, and then single crochet up the row. So I'm going to zoom through all of this because it's the same instructions that you're going to have followed for the top half. All right, I made it to the end of my round. I'm on my last stitch, and I'm just going to put 2 stitches in there because the first stitch we put in at the beginning of the round. And now I'm going to join my round here, pull that through, and I'm going to trim my yarn, and this end is going to get woven in so we don't have anything visible here. And what we're going to be doing now is switching into the pink to do an outline in pink. I know in the actual insect there's not as much pink as I'm going to be putting in, but I think that's okay. More pink never hurt anybody. So let me just weave this end in and then we will get started on adding our pink. Okay, so I may have been wrong. They don't seem to have as much pink as I thought. So we're going to start our outline with a light gray because I only have gray. I don't have any cream or white. So we're going to do our outline first in the light gray, and then I think we'll do a brown line at the top. There's not really much pink at all, only around the bottom edges, and I guess we could call this pink. So we could do the silvery color edge, and then we'll do like an edge on some of it of pink. So now I'm going to connect my yarn at the middle of the body here, that middle stitch where we connected the 2 wings together, and I will yarn over with my gray yarn, and then I'm going to chain 1 with both the end and the working yarn, and then I'll lay the gray yarn along the edge of the work. Then I'm going to put a single crochet in the same stitch, and now I'm going to single crochet all the way around the work. And this single crochet is going to be our first round of outline on the wing, but we're going to be doing something a little different when we get to the edges. So this edge, we're not adding any stitches here. So we did 3 the first round, we're not adding any here. We want to smooth this bump out because on the final wing, this should be like a nice even curve. So we're not adding any stitches here, but when we get to this corner, we are going to put 3 stitches in the middle stitch. So there's 3 stitches already. So we'll do stitch 1, then 3 in the next, then 1 in the next to continue that curve. But let's get to this point first. So at this first corner, I'm just gonna follow the curve. No increases here. Now I'm at the second corner. I'm going to put 1 single crochet in the first stitch of the 3. You see there's 3 stitches coming out of one spot. 1 single crochet in the second stitch, but in this third middle stitch here, I'm gonna put 3 single crochets again in order to help curve around. 1, 2, and 3, and then I'll just put 1 single crochet in the next stitch and 1 single crochet in each stitch other than that. When we get to this bottom corner, same thing. We're going to put 3 stitches in the middle single crochet, then we'll single crochet across the flat side, 3 single crochets in the middle stitch on the other corner, and then 3 single crochets on the stitch on the other corner, and then no change here, just work around. So that's going to bring us back to our beginning. So I'm going to zoom through the rest of this round because those are the only 2 tidbits you need. No additional single crochets on the top side of the work, but all the other corners are going to be getting an additional 3 single crochets in the middle stitch. Hopefully that made sense, and I'll see you when I finish this round. All right, so I've made it to the end of my round. I'm going to join the round with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 1 that we started the round with. And this section is done for gray. So I'm going to cut the gray yarn, pull it through, we're gonna weave in that end, and now we need to do some brown yarn. We're gonna connect at the corner over here. I'll connect by inserting my hook, yarning over with the brown yarn, chain 1, and then I'll drop the tail, and then I will single crochet into the same spot I just had the chain 1 come out of. And now I'm gonna single crochet all the way until I'm about halfway through the wing. So I've changed my mind about creating a shape here. I think we're gonna do it with embroidery after the fact because I don't know what I would do to get over that. So I'm just gonna crochet across and around the top of the wing the same way that I've been doing up until this point. And I'm just gonna crochet once in each of the gray stitches all the way to the other point of the wing. Okay, this is starting to make sense, I think. Okay, so now we're going to be doing the pink. I'm just gonna make it to the end of this row, and we're gonna be turning around and doing the same thing the same row that is, but just in the pink yarn now. And I haven't decided if I want to go with the pink coral or the like ballerina sort of pink. I'll show you the two colors and we can decide together. All right, so there's the end of my row. Oh, that looks so good. Okay, so I have this pink or this pink. Oh, it's this one. As soon as I saw it together, that's the right one. So, sorry about the birds. I'm just going to change yarn colors here. So I'm gonna take out my last stitch and then I'll start my single crochet, insert the hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then I'll cut my brown yarn here. And then I will finish the single crochet with the pink yarn. And then I'll chain one with my pink yarn and turn the work around. And now I'm gonna single crochet across this entire brown line with pink. No increases or anything, just one single crochet in each stitch all the way across. Alrighty, I'm just coming up to the end of that pink row and I think it's starting to look like it makes sense. So I'm getting pretty pumped about it, if I do say so myself. I'm torn between outlining the whole thing in pink. I think I'm gonna hold off for now just in case it was a bad idea and then I don't have to pull anything out. So I'm gonna just hold off and I'm gonna finish my row here at the end of the brown. Single crochet and then I'll pull that through and weave that end in. And look at this. Tell me that's not giving Luna Moth. Here's the two bottom pieces. Come on, that looks like it looks close. It's getting there. We're getting closer and closer to achieving Luna Moth. Now we need to outline the bottom wing segments, which I haven't quite figured out how we're gonna keep those points involved, but we need to outline them. And then we still need to make a body. We need to do embroidery. We need to put the whole thing together. But I feel like it's getting there. This might also need to be cinched up because the body would be visible underneath like that. We'll see. Let's do these bottom wing segments next. So for these bottom wings, we're gonna follow the same steps that we did for the top ones, but we're going to add a little bit of extra stitching in the section here, because if we did the exact same thing, we'd end up with flat, like a flat row here, but we need this row to be tilted because the bottom wing segments are nearly parallel like this. So we're going to work across in single crochets, and when we join these two together, we're gonna put 3 single crochets in the joined space in order to create this tilt that we need. We need the row to follow that corner rather than trying to be pulled straight by just working across. So we're gonna start at the top corner on the right piece of the wing, the top right corner, and I'm gonna attach the way I have been. So I'm gonna insert my hook, yarn over with my green yarn, pull a loop through, chain one, and then I'm gonna single crochet in the same spot that that chain one came out of. From here, I'm gonna single crochet across to the last stitch of the row. And then that's where I'm gonna zoom you in to show you how I'm connecting these two pieces. This part is easy, just single crochet across, but I'll meet you when it's time to join the two pieces. So here I am at the end of the first bottom piece. I'm gonna put a single crochet in the second last stitch. And now in the last stitch of the row, my plan here is I'm gonna put 2 single crochets in it, 1 and 2. Then I'm gonna chain 2, 1 and 2, and then I'm gonna attach by putting 2 single crochets in the first stitch of the second piece. So I will attach with a single crochet, 1, and then I'll put a second single crochet in that same spot. And that's gonna create the space we need between those 2 wings, just for the way I want it to look. So that's that. From here, I'm going to single crochet across the other side. And when I get to the end here, I'll meet you back here to show you how I'm going to sort of get over these zigzags without distorting them. Okay, so I've made it to the corner, and my plan to get around the corner is to do a single crochet and then a double crochet and then a single crochet. And I think that'll create a bit of a point. I think we're gonna have to end up adding a picot on the final round, but I think for now that'll do. So I'll put a single crochet in first, and then, hold on, let's see. No, our first point is here, so we have to get around the corner first. So 3 single crochets to get around the corner, 1, 2, 3. Now we're at the point. So here's the point here. I just got bit by one of my birds. Anyway, here's the point. So in the point, we'll do single crochet, then a double crochet, then another single crochet. for our point. Now we're at the space in between the point. We'll just put one single crochet and I think one more space between the point, so another single crochet there. And now we're at another point. So in that point, I'm gonna put a single crochet and then a double crochet and then another single crochet all in the same spot. And then we're at the spot between the point, the spot between the point, and now we're at the final point. Yeah, that worked. So we did the single crochet, double, single here, and that flared it out enough. So we did single, single, and now we're at the final point here. So I'll do single crochet, double crochet, and single crochet, and that will finish off our 3 points for the bottom of the wing. Oh, that looks good. Okay, and then I'm just gonna single crochet down, all the way down to the tip, and at the bottom, I'm gonna do something different to get around there without adding too much width. All right, so I've made it down to the tip of the tail, and this spot is a little bit difficult because it's like chain stitches, and we need to get around them. So I'm going to single crochet. Actually, you know what? I think here I'm gonna slip stitch. I'm gonna skip the single crochets, and just for the area where it's chain stitched here, so all the way around this, I'm just gonna slip stitch around. That way I'm not adding too much width because I want the end to be a little pointy, and I don't want to take away from that by adding single crochets here. So it's a little hard to decide where to put my hook, but I'm just finding spots that fit, and then I'm gonna yarn over and pull through both loops on the hook. And here's the last one, yarn over, pull through both loops. And then I'm just gonna turn the work. I'm not gonna do any chains or anything. I'm just gonna keep slip stitching until I'm back up to where there's more than just one stitch here. That way I'm not adding a bunch of width to the bottom of the tail. And I think that's gonna be it. This will be the third and final slip stitch here if I can get my hook in. There we go. And now we can switch back into single crochets until we get back up, but I'll meet you when I get to this point. All right, I've made it to the join now. And what I wanna do at the join is I wanna switch to some slip stitches for those 2 chains that we did in between, because I don't wanna add any width here. So I'm gonna just slip stitch. I'm gonna try if I can manage here. I'm gonna slip stitch into those chains. They're snug chains. Okay, there we go. I'll slip stitch into those chains to get across that little bridge, just so that I'm not adding a bunch of like size to the to that bridge. And then I'll switch back into single crochets, and I'm gonna follow the exact same thing I did on the first wing down this side. Then I'll slip stitch where the chain stitches are at the edge of the tail. Then I'll single crochet up, and then I'll do the single crochet, double crochet, single crochet, and then single crochets in between, single, double, single, singles in between, single, double, single, and then single. And that'll bring us up to our beginning of our round. So I'm gonna zoom through the other wing, and I'll meet you back when it's time to switch colors into the gray. Okay, I made it back to the beginning of the round. I put a stitch in. I have one more stitch to put in because there are supposed to be 3 in that corner. And then we're gonna join the round here. And at this point, we're gonna switch into the gray yarn. If I can join my round here. I keep making my stitches so tight, and then I'm like, why is it so hard to join? Why is it so hard to fit the hook in? Here's a tip for you. Watch how tight you're making your stitches. You might benefit from having them be a little bit less snug than what I did here. Okay, so there we go. There's the green. I do have to stretch it out. Eventually I will press all of this underneath an iron to get that look, that flat look, but now the wings are connected. The wing segments rather, and you can see we've thickened up that bottom band a little bit, perhaps more than I want, but that's okay because that's supposed to hang down, and it's just supposed to hang down in a bit of a curl like that. So we'll have to press it to have it do that. But now we're gonna switch into the green or the gray rather, and we're gonna go around the entire thing with the gray. The points, we're going to be doing something interesting there. I'm gonna single crochet across, and I'll meet you once I get to the points because we're gonna be doing a picot stitch here in order to create the points on the end, because there's not going to be any pink here. There's only going to be pink here and maybe on the top. So it'll be pink here, and then it'll do brown and then pink on the top here. So let's do the gray. First, switching colors. I'm gonna cut my green yarn because we are done with it. I think we're actually done with green for the rest of the project. And I'm going to just finish my slip stitch here with the gray. So I will yarn over with the gray and pull through to connect that round with the gray. And then I'm gonna chain one, and then I'm gonna grab the tail from the green and the gray, pulling them both. And now I'm just going to follow my single crochets, if my stitch will let me. It's a snug stitch. And I'll just do single crochets until I get to that first point, and I will show you what we're gonna do once I get there. So see you then. All right, I made it to the other side. Now let's jump in to these points we've got here. So we're gonna work around this round side until we get to what will be the pointy part. So you can just sort of pick through this to see what I'm talking about. We're gonna go crochet into these, and then you'll see at one point we have a double crochet. The double crochet is where we're gonna be putting our picots. So until we get to the double crochet, we're just gonna put one single crochet in each of the stitches leading up to it. And when we hit the double crochet, that's when we're gonna do something a little different. All right, now I'm at a double crochet. So in the double crochet, I'm going to do single crochet, then I'm gonna do a double crochet, and then I'm gonna chain one, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the double crochet, and then I'm gonna do a single crochet, all in the same space. So if that was confusing, I'll do it again. Oh, I wasn't even on camera, so, well, I'll do it again then. So now, single crochet into the single crochet stitches, single crochet into the single crochet stitches, single crochet into the single crochet, and we're just gonna single crochet until we make it to our next double crochet. And I'm just about, nope, I'm there. So this is a double crochet. In this double crochet stitch, you can tell it's a double crochet, by the way, because it's taller. We have 3 stitches coming out of one spot. It goes single crochet, double, single. So we just did the first single, now we're at the double. In the double, we'll put a single crochet, normal single crochet, then a double crochet, yarn over, insert into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then we'll chain 1, then into the top of the double crochet right here, we'll insert the hook, yarn over, and pull through both. So slip stitch down to the top of the double crochet. And then into the same stitch, we'll put another single crochet. And here is the result of that. It creates a picot, which is essentially a little point. It creates a nice sharp edge. So let me go through it again. We're gonna single crochet into all of those single crochet stitches between the double crochets. Single crochet, single crochet, and now I'm at another double crochet right here. So I'll do a single crochet in there. I'll try to. What is with my gauge today? It's so tight, or tension rather. Single crochet into the double crochet, then a double crochet, yarn over, insert into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then we'll chain 1, then into the top of the double crochet right here, we'll insert the hook, yarn over, and pull it through both loops on the hook. Slip stitch that back to the top of the double crochet, and then back into the same stitch those other 2 came out of. We'll do one final single crochet. And if I single crochet a couple more, you'll be able to see. Now we have these 3 beautiful points. So I know that was a little bit complicated, but I'm gonna zoom my way around the rest of the wing, and I'll meet you back when it's at the picots to show you one more time how to get through those double crochets in order to make these cute little points. Lol, remember when I was like, this is gonna be such a quick project, it's actually super easy. Hours later, still working on this. All right, so I've made it to my double crochets now, the little last picot, so let's get it done. I'm gonna put my first single crochet into the double crochet, then I'll put a double crochet into the same stitch, then I'll chain 1, and then you can see the top of the double crochet is right here. I'm gonna insert my hook into the front loop of that double crochet, and slip stitch into that spot. And then into the same spot the double crochet and single crochet came out of, I'll do another single crochet for a little picot. Then I'm gonna single crochet across until I get to my next double crochet stitch. And now we're there. So in that double crochet, I'll put a single crochet. I'll try to. Watch your tension, people. Makes it so much harder. So single crochet and then a double crochet in the same spot, then a chain one. Then in the front loop of the double crochet, I'm gonna slip stitch. And then I'll put another single crochet in the same spot those previous 2 stitches went into for our second little picot. Little points, so cute. Now I'll single crochet to the third double crochet stitch, third and final I might add. One more, and there we go, I'm at my double crochet now. So I'll put a single crochet in, then I'll put a double crochet into the same space, then a chain one, then slip stitch into the front loop of my double crochet, then one more single crochet into the same spot, and then I will single crochet my way back to the beginning of the round, which is right here. Put a single crochet in there, and then I'm gonna slip stitch this round together, and I can cut my yarn at this point and weave in the gray yarn because we're done with the gray now. Let me zoom you out and show you what it looks like. Come on, look at those little points. They look perfect. And now here is the top wing segment. Whatever. Come on, that looks like a butterfly now. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, so now all that's left is adding some pink down here. I looked back at my reference picture and it looks like here is the only spot from this point to the bottom. So we're gonna do a line of pink from here to here. And I think what I'm actually gonna do, no, I'll start up here. So how do I want, no, I'll start at the bottom. I think I'm gonna have to start at the point on one side, and then on the other side I'll have to start at the bottom in order to keep the row facing up. So I'm going to get to the last picot on the left side, and that's where we're gonna be starting, and I'm gonna go in with the pink. We don't need any brown here. I thought we had brown, but turns out there isn't. Now let me zoom you in and let's do it. So in the stitch after the picot, so after the second single crochet, it goes single crochet, double, single, all in that last little spot. In the stitch after the single crochet, so right here, that's where I'm gonna connect my pink yarn in. And I'm gonna do that by inserting the hook, yarning over with the pink, dropping the tail, and then I think I'm not gonna chain one. I think I'm just gonna go straight into double crochet or single crochets across this bottom piece because I kind of want it to like, no, I should do my chain one to kind of secure this in place. All right, just like that. And then I'm going to single crochet to the bottom tip of the wing, but not around the bottom, just down to the bottom tip. And I'm single crocheting over my tail so I don't have to weave it in. You know what, actually, now that I'm this far in, I think what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to, now that I've made it to the bottom sort of leg of that ribbon, the ribbon at the bottom starts here. I'm calling this now the ribbon. So it starts here. I'm a few stitches in, maybe 5 stitches. Let's see if this is where it starts. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, so I'm gonna go 5 stitches in, and the rest of the ribbon I'm gonna do in slip stitches so that I don't add any more width to it. I don't want it to be too thick. So I'm just gonna do this part, the rest of it in slip stitches. That'll also make it easier for me to weave that end in, and I think it's a good idea. So I'm just about at the point of the bottom of the wing now. Put my last slip stitch in here. I think I'll leave the last stitch unworked with my pink so that it ends in white. I'll do my last slip stitch and then I'm gonna just cut my yarn here and pull that through. And that'll be the pink on the underside of one wing. And now I'm gonna connect it, the yarn that is, at the bottom, 1 stitch away from the bottom. So not here, I'll connect it right there, which is gonna be hard because it's already a slip stitch. And I will connect my yarn with a loop, and then I'm gonna go straight into slip stitches. So I won't be able to weave this end in. I'll have to weave it in after the fact because I'm going in with slip stitches, so there's nothing covering my crochet. So I'm gonna slip stitch into the first few until I'm about 5 stitches from the end of the tail. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll slip stitch until here. Now I'll just single crochet up to that first picot. All right, I made it to the picot. So I'm going to, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna cut my yarn here, and I'm gonna pull that through, and then we've got some tails to weave in now. I've got 1 gray tail and 3 pink ones to weave in. And I'm wondering, I think there is pink here. In my drawing there is, but my drawing is like made up, so I don't know. I'm gonna have to double check. Oh, look how cute this is. It's really looking more and more like a Luna moth. Now we're gonna have to do the body. So let me figure that out, and I'll come back here we'll take a break from these wings. Oh my gosh, look at that. Totally looks like a Luna moth now. We'll take a break from these wings and we'll do the body now. So for the body, I really don't want to work in the round. I did a rough copy of the body and it was not fun at all for me. So what I think I'm gonna do, because the final shape we want is kind of like a round peanut sort of shape, like this, something that has like roundness. So what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is I'm going to create a rectangle that is a little bit wider at the top and a little bit more narrow at the bottom, like that. And then we can sew it together and drawstring the top and bottom, and that should give us something that has like a wider top of the body. And I don't know how we're gonna put on the antennas yet, but we're gonna figure that out eventually. I'm not worrying about legs. It's fine, it's cute. We're gonna have a good time. So I'm gonna do the body in gray. I don't have very much left, so hopefully I have enough for this, but we're gonna do the 3.5mm hook still. And I'm trying to think, if we want our body to be, I don't know, about that big around, like about that big around at the wide part, then we need to crochet 3 inches for the wide stuff. So we will start, maybe we could do narrow, wide, narrow to make like a shape that tapers. Do you hear the birds just making a mess right now? All right, so I'm gonna start with a chain of, let's say 20. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 19, and 20. Let's see, is that long enough? That's probably fine. Okay, so 20, I'll do 21 so that our rectangle is 20 stitches. Now in the second chain from the hook, I'm gonna single crochet across. At the end of the row, I'm gonna chain 1 and turn. And then this is going to be done all in the back loops only, except for the first and last stitch of each of the rows. So because I'm gonna be stitching this thing together, I wanna do the first and last stitch through both loops of the stitch in order to create a nice, straight, strong edge to work with. So I'm gonna do a rectangle right now. I'm gonna do, if this is 20, I'm gonna do 5 rows straight, I think, before we do a taper. So 5 rows, back loops only, except the first and last stitch of the row. All right, I'm at the end of the first row, single crochet into that last stitch, chain 1 and turn, and let me zoom you in. So for the first stitch of the row, of row number 2, I'm gonna put the stitch through both loops, just like that. And then otherwise, I'm gonna stitch only through the back loop of the work. That's just gonna create that sort of ribbed body that lots of insects have, that segmented look. So I'll just do that all the way across, but the last stitch of the row, I'm gonna put it through both loops. And I'll come back here once I get to 5 rows, because that's when we're gonna do a decrease in order to shrink this little guy down so that he has a bit of a taper to his body. All right, I am running out of gray yarn. Pray for me here. So here's where we're at after 5 rows. Now I'm gonna start tapering it down. So to do that, I'm going to chain 1 and turn, but in the first 2 stitches, I'm gonna single crochet 2 together. Single crochet 2 together like that. And then I'll continue back loops only until I get to the last 2 stitches of the row where I'm gonna do single crochet 2 together again. And I'm gonna do that for the next, I think, 4 rows, and we'll see how it looks at that point and see if we need to do any adjustments. But we're almost done. This is not a very big insect body that we need to deal with, so I don't think we need to make it much longer. Hopefully this amount of yarn is going to get us through. So I'm almost at the end of that short row. Yarn chicken is stressful, and I don't even have any other of this gray yarn hiding anywhere. Okay, there we go. So I'm at the end of the row now. I've got 2 stitches left in my row. Those last 2 stitches, I'm going to single crochet 2 together, and I'm doing them through both loops, not just through the top loop. And then I'll chain 1 and turn. Now in the back loop, I'm doing them through both. Now in the first 2 stitches of this row, I'm gonna do the same thing, single crochet 2 together through both loops, Then I will single crochet across in the back loops only, and then the last 2 stitches of the row, I will single crochet 2 together through both loops. So I'm gonna zoom through this row, and I'm gonna do that 2 more times. So this row and then 2 more after that. So that means we did 1 to 5, just straight down, then 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are all gonna be decreases. So I'll meet you at the end of row number 10 to show you what it looks like and if we have any other steps. Hopefully we have enough yarn to get us to row number 10. All right, after 10 rows, I think we have the right size. This, once it's sewn together and we do a drawstring on the top, is gonna be like the little bug body. So now I can pull, look at, I one yarn chicken. I can pull that last stitch through. I'm gonna give myself a nice long tail because this is what we're gonna use to sew this bad boy together. Pull that through nice and tight. First, we're gonna stitch it together. So I'm gonna take my yarn needle here and we are gonna do blanket stitches because they are nice and secure before we turn this right side out, stuff it with some yarn scraps, and call it a day as the body. So I'm going to fold this little thing in half, just like this, and then taking that tail that I've now loaded up on my yarn needle, I'm going to insert the needle through the last stitch of the row on the other side of the work. Pull that through, there will be a little loop left, and I'll push the needle down through that loop for a blanket stitch. And then into the next stitch up on both pieces, down through the loop. Into the next stitch on both pieces, up, down through the loop. Inserting the needle up through the work, through both pieces of fabric, then down through the loop, up through the work, down through the loop. There we go, made it to the top of the work. Now I'm going to take the 2 strands of yarn, the initial yarn tail and the strand from the blanket stitches, and I'm just gonna tie them together nice and tight to give a little bit more security here. And now you can see how the little body looks. Now I'm gonna take my tail and I'm going to weave it down through the stitches I just made in order to get down to the bottom where I can do the drawstring, because we need to tie up the bottom of this little insect body. So there we go. And then I'll just do a couple stitches here so that I can actually tug on the stitches themselves without accidentally tightening up the body. There we go. And now I'm going to weave in and out of the stitches that I did. So needle comes up and then needle goes back down through the next stitch. Up through the next stitch and down through the next, and then up through the next, down through the next, up next, down next, until I'm back to the beginning of the work. I'll pull that through and then I'm gonna pull on it really tight in order to close that bottom circle up. And I lost my threaded needle here. I'm just gonna thread it up and then I'm going to weave the end in through everything that I think it needs extra security on. Just sort of poking the needle around in order to, 1, weave in the end, but also make sure that that hole will be nice and closed and will never try to open back up. Then I'll just weave the end in through that initial seam we did, pull it through, and now it's done. Now we can turn this thing right side out. So this is the little body of our moth. I'm gonna turn that right side out so that the seam is on the inside, just like that. And now I can stick that little piece of yarn in and there's the body. How cute! All right, so that little body is donezo. Now I just need to stuff it, and I have all of these little bits that I've had from recent projects, and I just cut them into smaller pieces so they would be easier to sort of shove in. So there we go. That seems like enough stuffing. And we will sort of smush it around for a better shape once we're done. But now it's time to do the drawstring for the top of the little insect body. So I'm gonna do the same method. I'm gonna string up my yarn needle, and then I'm going to insert the yarn needle down through one stitch, up through the next, down through one, up through the next. Oops, you can't see what I'm doing. Down through one, up through the next, just like this. And then after I get all the way around, I'll pull on it to close up the circle. And that should give us a nice chunky little moth body. And there we go. Made it back to the beginning. I'll just use my crochet hook to shove the rest of that yarn in. Oh, not to hook. Yeah, I should have thought that through. And then I can draw that tight to close it up. And then same thing I did with the bottom. I'm just going to grab a few stitches around in order to weave in the ends, but also to make sure that that opening never tries to open. There, and now that end is woven in. I can just insert the needle down through the entire body and pull that through, and then trim the yarn. Now we can sort of mush the body around to create the right shape. Ta-da! Little butterfly body. And do you know what that means? It's time to put it together. Well, I still have the ends to weave in, but now you'll be able to imagine a little bit better what our little butterfly is gonna look like. Come on. So he's gonna have his little wings. Look at him. He's gonna be so cute. Okay, we still have to figure out antenna and we still have to weave an end. So let me weave in the ends first and then we'll talk about what we can do next. Okay, so I weaved in all of my ends and I took a second and I pressed the pieces underneath my iron just so I could have them be nice and flat for this next part, which is basically assembly and embroidery. Come on, look at that. Oh my gosh, that worked so well. Oh my gosh, I'm so pleased. Okay, so we've got our little body. Should we put no, the body goes underneath. I just feel like more of it shows like that. So I feel like this needs to be stitched up a little bit. Maybe like that. That might work. Like this. Stitch that up and that up like a little bow tie. Creates a little bit more texture. So now we're going to, what are we gonna do first? Embroidery or assembly? Maybe we do embroidery first. So the embroidery we need to do is circles. We need to put the eyes on this guy. So the eyes are done in brown and they're almost like a half circle. So I think that I'll take the brown and string up my yarn needle and see if I can't do a little bit of top stitching embroidery. All right, so I'm gonna flip the piece upside down so that I can attach the yarn here. I'm gonna attach the yarn on the back side. Is that the front? This feels like this is the front. There's more pink on this side. Nope, this is the back. All right, so halfway through, between the point, the top point and the middle, halfway through there is where the eye comes down. So I'm gonna insert my yarn needle there in order to get myself started. And then I'm just gonna tie a little knot because I'm gonna weave this end in after anyway, so it doesn't really need to be that secure. Okay, and now I'm gonna come up through the work on the other side, right in the middle there. Now let me bring you in close so I can show you what I'm gonna do. All right, so I think I'm gonna use some embroidery stitches. The first one I'm gonna use is gonna be the chain stitch. So I'm gonna insert the needle back down where it just came up from, and then I'm gonna have it come up a little ways away, one stitch over, through the loop. See this loop that is being formed by pulling it down? Just like that. Gorge. Okay, and then I'm gonna put the needle back down through the hole that it just came up through, down through the work, and then I'll have it come up one stitch away, like that, and I'll pull it through. And this part, I don't want it to be too tight, just snug enough that it sits flat. There. That looks pretty good. And then I'll have the needle go back down through the work where it just came up through, and then I'll move it a little ways away and have it come up through that loop. There we go. See? And now I want it to come a little bit this way. So I'm gonna have the needle go back down where it came up through, and then I'll have it come up a little ways away, but curving in now through that loop again. There we go. Then I'll do the same thing down where it just came up through, one stitch away, and up through that loop. And then I can just pull that. And now you can see we're getting a little curve. And then I'll have the needle go back down, come up a little bit beside it. Then there's the loop, so I'll pass the needle through that loop. There we go. Back down through the same spot, then up to the next spot. There's my little loop. Gotta make sure the needle goes through the loop in order to close the chain. There we go. Looks pretty good. And we'll have it go down through the same spot, up to the next spot. Make sure it goes down through that loop again. There's our first little eye. And now I'll stick the needle down through the work and have it come up through the spot where we started our little eye. Bada bing, bada boom. There we go. First eye embroidered on. Now I'll just weave the end through those chains that we just put in, just so that I don't have to worry about weaving that in later. And now I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. As you can see, I'm just making it up as I go. So if you have a different way that you wanna do it, go for it. I don't think there's gonna be a wrong way to do this. If you want to, you could just crochet a couple of circles and then sew them on. I just feel like this is gonna be easier for me to do if I do it this way. There, I can trim that piece, and there's my first little butterfly eye. Now I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. All right, I've got my 2 eyes, and I'm gonna use a little bit of my gray yarn to create a center for those eyes. And I think I'll just do, maybe I'll do little chain stitches along the side. Man, I don't know. I just feel like there's supposed to be some white here. So maybe I'll just weave this underneath so that I don't have to tie anything in till I'm at this middle point. Pull that almost all the way through. Okay, and then what? Maybe I do a couple chain stitches here with the gray, like that. Just gives a little bit more light here. I don't want it to be straight lined though. It's not supposed to be. So let's turn this into just a little bit rounder of a shape. There, that's better. Less of a straight line. Now I'm gonna do that same sort of shade in on the other side for the second eye. Just to keep this even more complicated and interesting, I'm going to do this little chain stitch all the way across to reach the other eye so that I don't have to disconnect my yarn. I'm pretending like I'm doing it to make it easier for myself, but really just adding more steps. All right, I've finished all of the embroidery bits on my butterfly, and now I'm gonna sew his bottom wings onto the body. I'm gonna keep them folded so that the lines are nearly parallel, like this, and then I'm just gonna position it close enough to the top of the head like this. And then I'm just going to stitch this down, and I think I'll stitch like till about here on both sides, just to keep it laying flat so that it doesn't try to flare out like this, and we'll keep it laying flat. So I'm gonna zoom through this because I'm just going to be stitching down with basic running stitches, and then I'll meet you back here to show you how that looks. Okay, so this is not necessary if you're making it, but I found floral wire in my stash of craft things. So I'm gonna use that to shape my butterfly, to keep it in shape. And how I'm gonna do that is anyone's guess. I'm gonna try my best to insert the, oh, this is not gonna be easy, to insert the wire underneath my first row of pink. And I'm just gonna stick it under each stitch one at a time, taking my time to work my way across in order to make this butterfly hold its shape a little bit better, and also so that I can position it. I think this is a great idea, and I am very excited about it. So I'm gonna do this, and then I will figure out the antennas. Ta-da! It's finished! Look how cute it is! I added these little antennae by putting yarn in between 2 pieces of wire and twisting it, and then I trimmed them down because these guys have little fuzzy antennae like this. And because it has the wire now, I can fold the wings, or I can choose to have them folded down. I did a wire on the underside also, so I can have it look like it's, hold on, we can fold the wings in as though it's like sitting, perched somewhere. See, how cool is that? This is so cool. The wires were a really cool idea. Really glad I thought of that last minute. I had a floral wire, and that worked perfectly, and it can just be positioned however I want. I am obsessed with this. This is such a cool project. This was so much more work than I want to admit. This took me 2 days pretty much to finish. At the beginning I was like, it barely uses any yarn, lol. But it doesn't use very much yarn, that is true. We've got our little body on one side, and then we've got 2 sets of wings. I did embroidery for the eyes. Look how cute it is. Look up close, you can see how I did the embroidery with the chain stitches, and then I did a little bit of satin stitching here on the bottom, and then chain stitches around it for the eyes. That turned out so cute. Oh my gosh, I am obsessed with this. I just want to keep like playing with the wire and folding it in different ways to see which way I like the best. So far, the best way that I like it is wide open like this. What do you think? Should I do more bugs? If anything, I hope it taught you that you can try and maybe it'll work, because that's what I did. I tried and I think it worked out really well. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. It really helps the channel, and also subscribe if you're new. I put out new videos every single Tuesday, and I live stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9 a.m. until 12 p.m. Also, thank you to everyone who's supporting the channel this month. Here is the list of channel supporters. If you want to join and become a supporter also, check the links in the description box down below. All right, friends, that's all I've got for you today. I'll see you next week. Bye!